Every time we teach about a new architecture, it seems to come down to scale. We want bigger models to learn more, but that means more computation, right?
That's been the core tension. Traditional networks face a hard limit. Their capacity to absorb information is limited by its number of parameters. Bigger usually means slower.
What if we could have a giant network, but for any given task, only use a small part of it? This paper introduces conditional computation, where parts of the network are active on a per-example basis.
So, like a master switchboard? It sounds efficient, but how does that actually work in a neural network?
The answer here is a new kind of layer called a sparsely-gated mixture of experts layer, MoE. Instead of one big feed-forward network, you have many smaller ones.
So an MoE layer isn't one big FFN, it's a collection. Does it just pick one of those smaller networks to use?
Precisely. A special component, a trainable gating network, determines a sparse combination of these experts for each input. Sparse is the key here.
So it's not a fixed choice. The network learns which parts to activate. That's a huge shift from a typical fixed architecture layer.
This conditional activation dramatically expands what's possible. They achieved greater than 1,000x improvements in model capacity compared to dense networks of similar computational cost.
We talked about transformers in #TCM 063001, how they scaled by enabling parallelization. This sounds like another fundamental approach to scaling.
They applied MoEs to language modeling and machine translation, where model capacity is critical for absorbing the vast quantities of knowledge. Think about how much data LLMs consume.
Right, the bigger the network, the more knowledge it can theoretically store. But this does it efficiently.
Consider a model with up to 137 billion parameters. A dense model of that size would be computationally impossible to train and infer on many systems.
But with MoE, because only a few parts are active, it becomes feasible. It's like having a library of 137 billion books, but only checking out 2 at a time.
That library analogy is a great start. Now, let's dive into how this library is structured and how that gating network decides which books to open.
I'm curious about the mechanics of that router. How does it learn? And what are these experts really doing?
Think of it like this. If you have a complex problem, you don't send it to one generalist. You send it to a team of specialists, each good at a different part. That's the core intuition behind a mixture of experts.
So, different experts for different kinds of input? Like a token about biology goes to a biology expert and a token about physics to a physics expert?
That's the idea. In practice, each expert is a neural network, typically a feed-forward network, in the context of transformer models.
And this team of experts isn't just randomly chosen. There's a system to it.
Yes, exactly. The decision maker is a gate network or router that determines which tokens are sent to which expert. This router is also a neural network.
So the router is learning which experts are best suited for different tokens. That's a dynamic assignment, not a fixed one.
For example, in a sentence like more parameters, the router might send more to one expert and parameters to another. Each token gets specialized processing.
This is great because it means tokens that need different kinds of computation don't all get forced to the same pathway.
When we apply this to transformers, we replace every FFN layer of the transformer model with an MoE layer. This builds directly on the transformer architecture we covered in #TCM 003001.
So it's not a whole new model, it's upgrading a core component of the transformer for efficiency. That's a clever way to integrate it.
The benefits are significant. MoEs are pre-trained much faster versus dense models. You get higher quality for the same compute budget.
Faster pretraining means we can iterate more or train much larger models. That's a game changer for development.
They also have faster inference compared to a model with the same number of parameters, because only a subset of experts are active for any given token.
So it's like a huge toolbox, but you only pull out the specific tools you need for each screw. You don't have to carry the whole box everywhere.
Your toolbox analogy is good for compute, but here's where it breaks. MoEs require high VRAM as all experts are loaded in memory. You still need to store the whole toolbox.
So the active computation is sparse, but the memory footprint isn't. That's a crucial distinction. It's huge, but only working on small pieces at a time.
Exactly. Now, let's dig into the actual mechanics of this gating network and the challenges of making this sparse activation work in practice.
I'm still wondering how that router decides who to send tokens to without some experts getting overloaded or others ignored completely.
At its heart, the mechanism relies on a learned gating network G decides which experts E to route the input to. It's a trainable component, just like the experts themselves.
So it's not predefined logic, it's learning to optimize the routing. But how does it choose? Just one expert or many?
A common approach is noisy top K gating. The gating network outputs scores for each expert. Then noise is added, and finally, only the top K experts with the highest scores are selected.
Top K means only a few experts are active, ensuring sparsity. But why add noise? Does it prevent the router from always picking the same few experts?
Yes, precisely. Without noise or other mechanisms, if all our tokens are sent to just a few popular experts, those experts become bottlenecks, and others are underutilized. That defeats the purpose of distributed expertise.
So the noise is like a little shakeup, encouraging the router to explore and distribute the workload more evenly among the specialists.
Beyond noise, a critical component for stable training is an auxiliary loss is added to encourage giving all experts equal importance. This loss penalizes uneven expert utilization.
That's smart. It's like a coach making sure every player on the team gets a chance to play, not just the star players.
Correct. This loss ensures that all experts receive a roughly equal number of training examples, preventing some from specializing too much, while others languish.
So the gating network learns which experts are best, but this auxiliary loss nudges it towards fairness and prevents catastrophic bottlenecks.
Consider a batch of 10 tokens. Even if your global batch size is 10, batch sizes in MoEs are effectively reduced for individual experts. One expert might only get 2 tokens.
So while the total tokens processed is 10, the effective batch size for any single expert is much smaller, which can impact training stability.
This mechanism, including load balancing, was pivotal in projects like G-Shard. It replaces every other FFN layer with an MoE layer in large transformers.
So instead of just scaling up existing FFNs, they effectively swapped them out for a sparse, expert-driven system for massive models.
Exactly. This foundation paved the way for modern, high-performing MoE models. Now let's see how these principles are applied in a real-world, state-of-the-art model like Mixtral.
I'm curious to see those capacity benefits manifest in a system I might actually use.
Building on everything we've discussed, let's look at a concrete example. Mixtral 8x7b, a sparse mixture of experts, SMOE language model. This is a current state-of-the-art model.
So the 8x7b in its name must refer to the 8 experts, each 7 billion parameters, following the MoE pattern.
That's exactly right. For Mixtral, each layer is composed of 8 feed-forward blocks, i.e. experts.
These replace the standard FFN layers in a transformer.
And it uses the same router concept?
Yes. For every token at each layer, a router network selects 2 experts to process the current state and combine their outputs. This is the top K in action, with K equals 2.
So each token gets attention from 2 specialized networks instead of being forced through a single general one. That's targeted processing.
Here's the capacity magic. Each token has access to 47B parameters, but only uses 13B active parameters during inference. That's a massive capacity with efficient computation.
Wait, 8 experts times 7B is 56B. Why 47B total? Are some parameters shared outside the FFNs?
That's a great question. Pulling from our Hugging Face source, only the FFN layers are treated as individual experts, and the rest of the model parameters are shared. The attention mechanism, for example, is shared.
Okay, so the 47B is the total model size, but only the FFN expert part multiplies. And the 13B is the active FLOP equivalent, because 2 experts, 14B, plus shared layers is roughly 13B equivalent.
The result is compelling. Mixtral outperforms or matches Llama 2 70B and GPT 3.5 across all evaluated benchmarks. That's a 47B parameter model performing like a 70B one.
And with significantly less active computation. This is the promise of MoE delivered, making huge models much more practical.
Furthermore, Mixtral vastly outperforms Llama 2 70B on mathematics, code generation, and multilingual benchmarks. This suggests the experts are truly specializing.
So, different experts might be handling mathematical reasoning, others code structure, and other specific languages. That's a powerful division of labor.
This shows how mixture of experts allows for models with tremendous capacity that are still efficient to run. It's an essential tool for building the next generation of AI.
I'm Maya. Thank you for thinking this through with us.
I'm Arjun. Another idea in 3 hours. Take care of your mind.